Donald Trump's latest tariff escalation against Canada, Mexico, and China is not just a short-sighted economic maneuver, it's an outright assault on the stability of critical supply chains, particularly those integral to the mining industry. The claim that these tariffs are necessary to combat illegal immigration and drug trafficking is a flimsy excuse, masking what is fundamentally an isolationist protectionist policy that will wreak havoc on industries dependent on international cooperation. The United States is heavily reliant on imported minerals and metals, many of which are sourced from Canada, Mexico, and China. By imposing sweeping tariffs, Trump has effectively kneecapped domestic mining operations, which rely on the seamless exchange of raw materials, equipment, and expertise across borders. Consider Canada's vast mining sector, which provides the US with essential minerals, including nickel, copper, and uranium. These resources are critical for American industries such as aerospace, defense, and renewable energy. Slapping a 25% tariff on Canadian imports not only inflates costs, but also jeopardizes joint ventures between US and Canadian mining firms. The same applies to Mexico, a major supplier of silver and lithium, both of which are crucial for the electronics and battery industries. China's role in rare earth minerals is even more vital. The US already faces a strategic vulnerability due to its dependence on Chinese rare earth elements, which are essential for high-tech manufacturing, including defense technologies. Rather than diversifying supply chains sensibly, Trump's policies effectively push China to retaliate by cutting off access to these indispensable materials, leaving American manufacturers scrambling for alternatives that do not yet exist. While Trump may believe that tariffs will punish foreign adversaries, the reality is that they will backfire spectacularly on US mining companies that export raw materials and finished goods. Canada and Mexico are two of the largest buyers of American steel, aluminum, and coal. In retaliation, these countries will impose counter-tariffs, making US exports less competitive and directly harming the very industries Trump claims to protect.
Moreover, China remains a significant buyer of US metallurgical coal, which is used in steel production. A trade war with China will severely impact American coal producers, many of whom are already struggling due to the global shift toward renewable energy. If China seeks alternative suppliers, such as Australia or Russia, the US coal industry could suffer irreversible damage.
By raising costs on imports, these tariffs will have a cascading effect on the mining supply chain. Machinery, drilling equipment, and even safety gear used in US mines often originate from Canada and China. A 10–25% hike in prices will drive up operational costs, forcing companies to either absorb losses or pass costs onto consumers, further stoking inflation. The automobile industry, which heavily relies on steel and aluminum, will see production costs soar, leading to higher vehicle prices. This, in turn, reduces demand for mining outputs, as fewer cars mean reduced steel and aluminum consumption. Similarly, the housing sector, dependent on lumber, copper, and cement, will experience price surges, slowing construction projects and reducing the demand for these critical materials. Trump's justification for these tariffs, blaming Canada, Mexico, and China for drug trafficking and illegal immigration, is an egregious misuse of economic policy. Trade should not be weaponized to address security concerns that are better handled through diplomatic and enforcement measures. The White House's assertion that these tariffs will curb fentanyl imports is particularly absurd, as most fentanyl enters the US through small-scale smuggling operations rather than legal trade channels. For the mining sector, Trump's tariffs represent a colossal miscalculation. They undermine cross-border trade, inflate costs, and invite retaliation that will devastate US mining exports. Instead of fostering strategic partnerships with key allies and trade partners, Trump has chosen to escalate economic hostilities under the guise of national security. This policy is not just reckless, it is economically self-destructive. The mining industry, already grappling with supply chain disruptions and shifting global demand, cannot afford to bear the burden of political grandstanding. If the US wants to maintain a robust mining sector, it must engage in constructive trade policies that ensure resource security, rather than dismantling the very frameworks that sustain its industrial backbone. Stuart Clark, my independent commentary for Skillings Mining Review.